Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football Fallout. This is about tight ends. We're talking Fantasy Football 2020. Yes, we are into 2020. If you're in a deep keeper league or a dynasty league or any league where you're keeping basically your entire starting roster or close to it, these are moves that you really need to be thinking about making at the tight end position. Mind you, you might even have some of these on your team and might not think that well of the players, and if so, you're in good standing. Now, I'm going to roll down from 9 to 1. I couldn't stretch it to 10. I like 9 tight ends. I probably love the top 4 on this list, but yes, I know we have a lot of offseason. Okay, I know there's a lot of stuff to shake out, and I know that training camp. We're not even in training camp yet, but as the offseason progresses, the price tag on these people are going to go up. So if you need a tight end, if you have a hole there, you can catch some people sleeping. Number 9 on my list, we're going to start with number 9, TJ Hawkinson of the Detroit Lions. Now, keep in mind, he came into last year with a lot of hype. So if you're in a dynasty league where you're only drafting rookies, he probably went pretty high. I was not in love with Hawkinson just because I didn't love the offense, but as you know, he had some injury issues. Obviously, Stafford missed about half the season. His stock has calmed down. I think you could probably buy low on him and hope that he has a high value proposition for you in future years. And don't forget too, this coaching staff in Detroit, if they can't put it together this year, there might be another coaching staff coming in there, another system, and he is a first-round tight end. He's going to have some talent there, so he's a guy I think could ascend. Number 8 on my list, Jonnu Smith. Now, he was overshadowed, didn't have a lot of hype, I don't think, coming into last year with the injury to Delaney Walker. He was kind of in and out of the lineup, and of course, the move around midseason to Ryan Tannehill. Jonnu Smith started to climb up the ladder a little bit. I think he'll have that starting tight end position locked down, and I think he'll ascend this year, especially if the Titans move forward and, of course, re-sign, have Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill on their roster next year. Those are definitely prerequisites. I wouldn't want Jonnu Smith to be one of the key weapons there. I want him to be the third or the fourth option of the offense, but that can get you a lot, especially when a team, I think with Tannehill, they had like 90% red zone touchdown conversion percentage. That's not going to happen again, but still, you have to like the play calling there, and I think he'll have plenty of opportunity. Number 7 on my list, Kyle Rudolph / Irv Smith. Now, here's the deal. Stefanski, if you prefer, tomato, he's in Cleveland, right? So he's going to be bringing his system over there. Gary Kubiak, who was an offensive, kind of an assistant, but really he was a consultant there. He is the offensive coordinator. Kubiak runs that Shanahan system. He ran it in Houston. He ran it in Baltimore that one season. He was the offensive coordinator there. And, of course, in Denver when they won the Super Bowl. Well, wouldn't you know it, in Houston, Baltimore, and Denver, he had Owen Daniels. Yes, Owen Daniels was scoring well at tight end. This system needs a tight end, right? We have George Kittle famously in San Francisco right now. The Shanahans, I think, brought Jordan Reed into the league. There have been tight ends. It's a staple in this system, okay? Kyle Rudolph, I think, is the one to have now. If you're less patient, maybe if you're competing for your league championship and you're in one of these deeper leagues, I think Kyle Rudolph is the guy to go. If you're just rebuilding, I think Irv Smith is the guy to go. And I think this coaching staff will be stable there. I don't think Gary Kubiak is going to be leaving the Minnesota Vikings for a head coaching job. Remember, he had health issues the last time. I think this is the where he's going to be. I think Zimmer is very secure with where he is, and I think Minnesota is going to do quite well. So I like these Minnesota tight ends, depending on what your strategy is as a team. Number 6, Dallas Goedert. Now, this one's interesting. I don't know if he's going to match his numbers in Philadelphia this season because, remember, part of this, he did ascend and he is definitely tracking upward as a player, but remember, he had more opportunity because Philadelphia had so many injuries at wide receiver. That said, I do think Philadelphia as an organization will trend upward. I do think maybe some of its targets will go down, but he is better, or at least last season, he was better than Zach Ertz was in the red zone. You can't ignore that. I don't know that he's a weekly starter, but I don't think Dallas Goedert has it in him. He's not going to play second fiddle to Zach Ertz for his entire career. At some point in the next few seasons, he's going to move on to another team, and I think he's as good as any tight end in the league if he just gets the opportunity. For example, if Zach Ertz, you never hear of a tight end handcuff, right? But if Zach Ertz were to go down, I think Dallas Goedert would step right in, have no problem putting up that kind of volume and those kinds of numbers. If he does end up moving somewhere in free agency in a couple years, then you have him there as well, and he is serviceable. So again, depending, if you're in a deep keeper, you're only keeping about half of your roster, maybe not, but if you're in a full true dynasty, you got to grab this guy, I think. Number 5 on my list is Jared Cook. He's a little bit old, so again, if you're If you're not really challenging for your league championship in a dynasty format, I probably pass on him. But I like New Orleans. I've already started to analyze the 2020 schedules and the numbers, put together defensive projections, offensive projections. I like how Cook projects this year against his matchups this season. So he's somebody I think is going to basically give you more value in 2020 than he gave in 2019. So people might be willing to give him up. Number 4 on my list, Jack Doyle. Look, Eric Ebron, he's not going to be taking red zone touches away. I think this whole Indianapolis offense does better next year, and that they'll have a full offseason to prepare with Brissett as a quarterback, or I guess they could make another move if it's not Brissett, but likely will be in my opinion. Jack Doyle will get volume all season long. He is going to be, I think, the unquestioned number 1 tight end in this scheme. Ebron's going to go somewhere. He's not coming back to Indianapolis because they didn't like his toughness fighting through injury last year, so he's gone. Number 3 on my list, and the reason they're number 3 is because it's unsettled. I have quote-unquote Atlanta's tight end. Austin Hooper is going to test free agency. Is he going to leave? I don't know. The Dirk Cutter system does very well for tight ends. Remember, O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate did quite well when Cutter was the head coach. I believe that Atlanta had Jimmy Graham when Dirk Cutter was last the offensive coordinator for Atlanta, and then also Austin Hooper. So I was very high on Austin Hooper coming into last season. I think that prediction panned out. I think Atlanta's tight end, whoever that is, I don't think there will be a hole there. I think it will be utilized. Even if you're not getting volume and catches, you'll get touchdowns. So if you're in a touchdown-only league, whoever that gentleman is will provide value. We'll see who that is at this point. I'm assuming Austin Hooper is probably going to get better money elsewhere. But again, we'll see. We'll see. But either way, I think the opportunity is going to be there as long as they don't have a stiff going in there. Look for rookies. Look for kind of sneaky free agent signings. People that might have not had opportunity elsewhere coming into this system, where you're getting like Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley and now Russell Gage drawing attention away from that position, especially in the red zone. I think it'll be good. Number 2 on my list, Noah Fant. Now again, if Atlanta gets somebody big in the draft, I might move Atlanta to number 2. Let's just say number 2 and number 3 they're tied for number 2, right? Noah Fant, I like this move. Now he came in again with some hype last year. I was high on him last year. I did not love the offensive play calling, which Denver didn't either. That's why they fired their offensive coordinator. And then also Noah Fant early in the season, he had the drops. I think he was just too hyped up. He was fulfilling a dream and all that, but he settled in very nicely later in the year, especially with Drew Lock at quarterback. If you had somebody that drafted him a little bit too early, they might have soured. They might not have paid as much attention later in the season. You might be able to grab him for pennies on the dollar. I like him, especially in Pat Shurmur's system. Remember, Pat Shurmur was coaching Evan Ingram for a couple of years with the Giants. He's had success everywhere. He had success with Kyle Rudolph in Minnesota as a play caller. I think he's going to be good for you. Again, pennies on the dollar here. Number 1 on my list, and this pick here is specifically driven towards teams that want to compete for a championship. Greg Olsen, okay? Greg Olsen, he's had injury issues for years, okay? So he comes with some risk. And I think that because he comes with some risk, there are teams, he's aging, you're in a dynasty format. He hasn't performed that well because the offenses in Carolina have been pivoting more towards Christian McCaffrey and away from him. But if you look at his numbers when he's played, he's scored pretty consistently, right? So if you have a kind of one of those owners in the league that really just dials in for those 16, 17 weeks a year and they don't really check their lineups, they just look at the overall points, I think you can get him. And keep in mind, he's going to Seattle, right? Will Dissly's had some injury issues the last 2 years, and really, I don't think has played much more than 8 or 9 games in his career, if memory serves. You had Jacob Hollister kind of fill in. These guys with Russell Wilson have opportunity. Russell Wilson likes to throw to tight ends, especially in the goal line. I think Greg Olsen is a goal line threat in an offense that is a better fit for him, in an offense that also has wide receivers drawing coverage away from him in those red zone situations. So Greg Olsen, if you're making a championship chase, he's my favorite. Basically 1 to 2 year plug and play at the tight end position. Again, if you're a younger team, you're looking to move forward and build something for the next 5 years, 10 years. I look more towards these 2, 3, and 4 guys, right? Noah Fant, whoever Atlanta's tight end is, maybe a young person, maybe Hooper goes back. But though if Hooper goes back, you're not going to be able to get him for pennies on the dollar. Jack Doyle, something like that. So there you go. There are my top 9 tight ends at this point. We will be updating after the draft as well, and maybe even after free agency. We'll see. but I'll be updating this list. There are going to be a lot of these same names on here, but probably some rookies will infiltrate this list. If you like, please comment below. Please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. This is all fantasy football, right? Let me know who you think. Did somebody not make my list that's on your list? I'd be really curious to hear about it. But again, everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and check us out on another video soon. Thanks.